Cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin. I am here with Novedge Marketing Manager Aurora, who is working behind the scenes today. And today we'd like to both welcome you all to our latest Novedge webinar series episode. Today's webinar presentation is a beginner's course instructing attendees on how to use KeyShot Pro 4.1 to create professional quality renderings quickly and easily. Topics covered today include importing files, using the material library, applying HDR lighting environments, camera manipulation, and rendering output. The webinar will prepare users to hit the ground running to confidently use KeyShot to produce stunning results. So for those who aren't aware of who our presenter is, Shaun Redsar is a digital media artist from Luxion. He's created many of the promotional renderings for KeyShot, as well as he's conducted many of the tutorials, webinars, and quick tips. Today's webinar presentation is about 40 minutes long, and afterwards we'll have a brief Q&A session where Shaun will answer your questions live. So feel free to submit your questions to us at any time into the chat window below. But before we get going to the presentation, here's an overview of what we do at Novedge. The Novedge webinar series is brought to you by Novedge.com. As one of the largest online design software stores, we offer a huge assortment of software solutions that cater to virtually every designer's need. If you are interested in picking up a digital version of Luxion KeyShot Pro 4.1, it is available worldwide from us at Novedge. So if you want to learn more about this product, I encourage you all to call, email, and speak with our sales specialist, Bob Thayer. You can reach him by his email address, bob@novedge.com. By the way, to get a glimpse of what and who is changing the world of design one step at a time, please visit Novedge's very own blog. Every week, our interviews shine a light on those innovators whose work break out from the norm. And today's webinar presentation, I expect that we're going to have a lot of questions. So we're going to format that, send it to Shaun and the Luxion team, and we'll share it as a blog post so that you can find your answers afterwards. So if you want more details, please visit us today at blog.novedge.com. And by the way, because KeyShot is a software Rhino users are familiar with, I invite you all to visit rhinojungle.com. Rhinojungle.com is Novedge's own online community for Rhino users, designers, and professionals. Join and discuss with other like-minded Rhino users today. So if you want to catch up on the headlines, opportunities, and discussions, please do check it out. In our next upcoming webinar, Fabrice Debarge covers all the basic tools and features you'll need to excel with TV Paint in this very demonstrative webinar. It is a high-performance pixel-based drawing program with a strong emphasis on painting, 2D animation, and special effects. So if you're looking to find a fully capable drawing program, don't miss this webinar. It is free and will last about an hour and includes a Q&A session. So if you want to sign up, go on ahead and check out novedge.com/webinar/80. By the way, if you have to leave early, no worries. Today's webinar is being recorded live, so if you want to rewatch today's episode in its entirety, as always, you can find it on our Novedge webinar series channel through Vimeo and YouTube. And with that said, Shaun, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Cool. All right. Let me switch and turn you into a presenter right about now. Oh. This is weird. Oh, there we go. Take it away, Shaun.
Okay, cool. Show my screen. All right. Hello, everyone. Let's get this going. So as Kevin said before, the focus of this webinar is just going to lead you guys for newbies of KeyShot to get some great renderings from the start before even you ever touch this program. So that's my focus here. So let's go ahead and open up KeyShot right now, and we'll get into it. All right, when you first open it, the first thing you want to do is get your 3D models into KeyShot. There's a few ways you can do this. The easiest way, as you'll see here, is the toolbar, which has our nice, simple UI interface. As you can see, the first option in our toolbar is import, so you can go ahead and click that and to open up our import dialog box. And from here, you can go through your folders and find your 3D file. Under file types, you can see all the different types of 3D formats KeyShot does support. As you can see, there's a myriad of different file types. Most likely, if you have it, KeyShot can bring it in. And if you want, you can also go to KeyShot.com. I'll show you real quick. And if you go to Resources, Plugins, you can see the different plugins we offer as well for specific 3D applications that will help ease the workflow going from your 3D application to KeyShot. So if you have a specific 3D app and you want to go right into KeyShot immediately, there's a lot of plugins that help you do that quickly. And also, if you are on KeyShot.com under Resources, you can also, or on the website, you can also try KeyShot for free for a limited time just to see if you like it or not. So if you like this tutorial and you want to give it a shot, go to KeyShot.com and you can download it. All right, so let's go back to our KeyShot. So like I said, if you wanted to import, you can click there. You can also go to File, Import. And also, there's an easy way of, let me minimize this real quick. What's really great is KeyShot. KeyShot's really great at the drag and drop features that you see like in a lot of different applications popular. So let's go ahead and see what happens when you drag and drop. And it brings you up to the import panel. So this allows there's many ways to get to your model into KeyShot. Just wanted to emphasize that. So if you're like either a drag and drop guy, if you're a menu guy, menu bar guy, there's a different way to do it. All right, so once you have dragged and dropped or found your file through the menus, it brings up the KeyShot import dialog box. Usually it will look like this, where it looks very simplified. Usually when you open up KeyShot, what you want to do is click on the Show Settings so you can have more control over your imports and what exactly is going in. And I'll go over right now with a little bit of what each one does briefly. Center geometry right here, the first check mark. That pretty much centers your model in the KeyShot scene. Snap the ground, it takes the lowest, most value in your model and places it to align with the ground in KeyShot. Keep original, this is only if you want it to have, you have a specific XYZ location of your model in 3D space. And if you keep original, KeyShot will allow that to be valid, so you won't have to center it to remove everything so it's aligned the way you like it. But I usually like to keep center, geometry. Usually if you're just working with a single model, it's best just to leave that off. Size, this is really important. Usually if you keep automatic, KeyShot will try to figure out based on your numbers and what kind of units you guys are modeling in. I like to click on Keep Original and actually select my specific units. That way I'm sure exactly that KeyShot knows what scale I'm working in. So I know that the model I'm working in is in millimeters. The next one is up orientation. Many 3D applications have different values for what they consider up. It sounds kind of nutty, but if you're only using one 3D application, you probably only need to figure out the up orientation once, and it usually remembers that setting. So figure this out once, and then it'll apply all the time. So I'll just leave this at Y, because I believe that's Rhino's up is Y. Under here, environment and camera. Adjust camera to look at geometry. This is great. So the moment you bring it in, the camera will center the camera right onto your model. Adjust environment to fit geometry. This is great. So no matter if you have a big model or a small model, KeyShot can figure out what's the best size to fit your model to best light it. You'll see as we go forward when I'm talking about environment, but this is best left checked on usually for beginners. Materials we'll kind of gloss over. This is more advanced. You don't have to worry about this right now. As you get more familiar with KeyShot, this becomes a really powerful tool. And geometry, just keep calculate normals checked. We don't have to worry about that. So mostly concern yourself with the top part, especially the size. Geometry unit, make sure you select the correct geometry that you modeled your model in. So if it's inches, make sure it's inches selected, millimeters, so forth. And we'll go ahead, once that's all set, click Import. And there it is. We brought in our model, and it's nice and blue. The next thing we want to do is I'm going to show you how to control your camera in KeyShot. As you can see, I was moving it around already, just intuitively. But how you orbit around the camera, or orbit the camera around the model, is you left click and drag, and you can see as it orbits around the model itself. And if you want to pan, you do the center mouse wheel click. So push down on the mouse wheel. You can see we are panning the camera. And if you want to zoom in and out, let's go ahead and roll that scroll wheel in and out, and you'll see how it moves in and out. If you want finer controls with your mouse, you can hold down Alt button and click and drag the right mouse button. And you can see that we have more refined control of our zoom. So those are really useful camera controls. That's, you're going to be using it constantly to show you try to get the right angle for your rendering. All right, now that we have how do we manipulate our camera in our real-time rendering, as you can see, let's go ahead and open our project window. For our project window, it's right here. Let's look at our toolbar. It's the third button on the toolbar with like a little table. It says project beneath it. You can go ahead and click on that, and it opens up our project panel. Another way you can open it is just by hitting the space bar. And there's a million hotkeys too. So once, if you want to get more pro with this program, you can always go to your help on your menu bar and hit hotkeys overview. And it'll open a panel that shows you all the hotkeys that are available for KeyShot. So I push spacebar. That's one of the hotkeys to open and close your project window. And that's also, of course, if you're not comfortable with hotkeys, you can always just use the button again. I'm going to go ahead and dock. Another feature than KeyShot is you can actually dock your windows into the real-time view. So I'm going to go to do that. You're going to go ahead and double-click the top of the project panel. And that places it right inside your KeyShot window. I'm going to go ahead and maximize this. And do it again so you can see. So you can double click it to pop it out again. So now it's popped out. So now it's free. So I'm going to go ahead and dock it again and pop it in. And there you go. All right, now that the project window is open, let me show you what's in each of these little mini tabs on the project. The first tab is Scene, and that's going to show you your scene tree right here, which is going to show you the organization of all your parts. If you click on one of these, like say model, then the mouse, each of these entries will have a plus or minus sign usually right next to the name. If you go ahead and click the plus sign, it'll twirl down all the items that are organized underneath that heading. And you can see how these models are organized. And you see how after I highlight each one on the scene tree, it highlights the parts in our model in orange. So that's pretty helpful. And you'll see also a check mark next on the right next to each entry. You can click on that to hide that specific part. Or you can just click on the top level of this model with just the mouse. You can hide the whole thing at once if you like. So as you can see the name of the part. You can also rename that if you wanted to. You can also rename it anything you want. So you can rename it down here on the bottom, whatever you like, and keep it, the name right there the same. It also shows you what materials are being applied to the model itself right now. So these are all the named materials we have, which we'll go over as soon as we get to it. The next thing we'll talk about is the properties tab within the scene tree. So once inside the scene section of your project window, there's going to be a sub-tab here in properties. It's going to tell you the name of the part that you have selected. If you have it clicked, it's also contextual. So make sure see how it changes every time you click on something different. The sub tabs on the bottom are contextual, so it will only show up whatever is pertinent to the model part you have selected. So that's important to remember. So if you don't have any selected and you're like, well, where did that tab go? It's like, remember, it's contextual. So make sure you have something selected and tell you the properties of that specific part. So like I said, you could have something selected. You could change the name here. You can go directly to edit material if you wanted to do it from here. And there's more advanced stuff on the bottom, so we will have to go into that right away. Next to that is position, which you can see that's relative location in space. You can also activate the Move Tool button, which is handy if you want to move your model around in KeyShot. It opens up this little gimbal where you can move things around. And then you can, when you hit check, it'll finalize your movement. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. So I'm going to push X to keep it back to where it was. And then there's the materials panel. And this shows you all the current materials being used in your scene and all the on your parts. They're all different materials, even though they look the same right now, but they're all separated out. So when we start editing it, you'll see the difference. But there's 5 materials in our scene delineating the 5 different parts we have here. So that's your scene tab in a nutshell. So let's go ahead and see about editing our materials. Like I said, you can go to our properties, click on one of our parts. You can always hit the edit material button from here, or an even faster way to edit your material is actually go into your real-time window, find the part you want to edit the material of, and just go ahead and double-click that part. And what that does is automatically brings you to the next tab, which is the Material tab. This tab is going to show you what the properties of that specific material and that part is, and lets you edit it to what you need it to be. Again, you can rename the material on top, just like you can rename the part. So you can rename the material, and this is a good place to go into the next kind of window we have. Because like we can do your custom materials and create your own materials here, like let's say they're metal. It'll change that property, see how it automatically changes it to a metal type share. This is great if you really know what you're doing, but since this is for a beginner's class, I'll show you our library, which is great for just bringing in pre-made materials that comes with your install of KeyShot. So on the bottom of the toolbar, you'll see to the left of project is the library button. It looks like a little book. I'm going to go ahead and click this button and open up our library panel. And you can do the same thing with the library panel as you did with the project panel. You can double-click that to dock it within the KeyShot window. As you can see, there's a large collection of materials that comes with KeyShot. I'm going to go over just for the basics, what kind of the most commonly used materials that you're probably using. So the first thing we'll then probably do is paint. So let's open up our paint panel. Each of these materials, you can see that there's a little triangle next to the folder. That means these are further categorized in subfolders that you can see if you want to kind of browse a specific type. Let's say I want glass or paint gloss type material. I'll just say I want basic. So see how it organizes it to these separate folders like that, which is also cool too. If you know the specific name of your material and you kind of like, I don't want to go through all these folders, you can also just type in the search field the specific name of that material. So if you want paint, gloss, black, and there it is. So you can You can always search specific names for your materials to find it really fast without having to scroll down all these folders. So let's go ahead and let's put on, just for funsies so you can see it better, I'll go ahead and use this paint gloss green. I'll just apply it to the material here and see how it updates the material in real time. You can keep going, just keep playing with it. And see how fast that is. All right, so now that we have some paint going on here, I'm going to go back to green. I'm going to jump back to my project panel in our material, and we can see some of the variables of our paint properties. So we can kind of more understand what kind of paint changes you can make, or changes you can make to the paint material. So the first thing you see is color under properties in your materials. Right now you can see it's green, so if you click on that, it'll pop open the color panel. It's really cool. We can just pick a color within the color box here. You can choose the shade of the color here or the hue on the right side of the box. If you want it like a, maybe I want like a cyan type plastic. Change a nice high chroma teal. You can also enter in numerically if you know a specific color formula. You can type it in for RGB or CMYK. And what is also really cool is Kelvin, which if you're doing some light stuff. But RGB and CMYK are probably the most commonly known. So you can enter in these values here. Go back to RGB, so that's what we're working with right now. You can also, if you wanted to, hit right here next to the little save icon. There's a little eyedropper icon, and with that you can just actually pick a color anywhere on your screen. So let's say, oh, I want it to be the exact color blue of this button. Click on that little eyedropper tool, and you can pick that color. Just boom, there you go, and it applies that color directly onto your material. Just okay. Another way you can pick color if you're in a rush, if you're still learning or in a rush, if we go back to your color KeyShot library panel, and there's another tab next to materials called colors. So let's go and click our colors tab in our materials panel. And you can see it's kind of similarly organized as our materials, but these are just colors. So we have a lot of different preset colors you can choose from already. Like I'll go ahead and make this orange. So what this does is if I click and drag this to my material, it keeps the material to what it was already, but it just changes the color, which is really great. So, I mean, if you just want to keep, if you know you want plastic and you just want to browse through different preset colors that KeyShot has, or if you already have some colors that you've pre-made and saved, you can always just browse through them. We also have a full Pantone color library if there's a specific Pantone color that you wanted to use. And also RAL. See how it applies the color and keeps it in the plastic. All right, so let's go back to looking at our project window in our materials tab. So under color, you'll see roughness. This changes the finish of the plastic or the material. If I raise this all the way up, you'll see it has a more of a satin finish. And underneath that is the refraction index. This is kind of like the shininess of the plastic. You raise this up, and it becomes a little more shiny as far as the clear coat goes. There also is, anytime you see a material, a lot of times you'll see advanced with a little triangle on here. What you can do is click that, and you'll see that there's more controls in your material. But for this webinar, most of the times we'll not go over that right away. As you get more comfortable with KeyShot, I suggest that you really explore some of these more advanced options. Okay, so the next material I want to kind of show you guys that's really common is metal. So in the KeyShot library, under materials, I'm going to find our metal folder, and I will open up aluminum and click on basic. And I will drag on, let's try aluminum polished right here. So I'm going to click and drag aluminum polished right in. And that changes that material to now it's a metal type of shader. And that changes the type here. Before you saw that it was plastic, now it says metal. And it automatically defines the name because it's a saved material in the library. So it says aluminum polished. And under color, it's similar to plastic. You can change the color to whatever you like. The roughness is the same. Like if you increase the roughness, it adds a more of a satin finish to the metal. The less rough, the more shiny, the smoother it is, the more light will be reflected, like a mirror-like finish. So that's metals. It's pretty cool and pretty easy to use. As you can see in the materials library, there's a lot of different metals you can choose from. There's aluminum, brass, chrome. Then we also have the precious metals here: gold, platinum, silver. So there's a ton of materials for you to play with. All right, let's get to the next complexity level of the kind of a common material we'll use is glass. A lot of times people want to introduce glass with a lot of the product renderings or whatever it is you need this for. I'm going to go ahead and select the glass folder, click on the arrow to twirl down the subcategories, and I'm going to go ahead and just click clear glass. And I'm going to click shift or drag in glass basic white. Anytime you want to see more the full name of the material, you can just hover over it like I just did, so you can see the full name. You can also change the size of the material, but I'm going to go ahead and just drag in glass basic white, so you can see how that is going to act within our scene. So in real time, you can see how this is being rendered. Again, if you look back in your project in the materials, you'll see the type is changed to glass. And again, on the properties, you can change the color of the glass. And also its refraction index. In the clear materials like glass, refraction index refers to how the light is bent through the material. Think about it like how you see a straw is bent in a glass of water. That's the best way to think about refraction. So if we increase this number, it'll change the way the light is going through the material. This is more evident if you click on the next option. Right under there, you'll see a little check mark that's two-sided. This is great if a lot of your surfaces are single surfaces, but you wanted to make it look as realistic glass as possible. So this will actually render the glass shader on both sides of the surface. So I'm going to go ahead and click on two-sided, and you'll see now how it's being refracted more. I'm going to turn this to white so you can see this more easier. So if you can see, that wheel is being bent all the way up here. That's because our refraction index is at 1.33. The different settings change the amount of light being bent through that material. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to make this plastic again. I'm just going to make everything plastic just so you can see the difference ways we can just use plastic and just make it cool. Okay, so I want plastic, hard, shiny, basic. I will use the basic gray plastic. No, we haven't gone over plastic, actually. We went over paint last time. Okay, I'll go over plastic real quick. So I just dragged over hard, shiny plastic gray. As you can see, it changes here again under type. Instead of a color, now it says diffuse, which basically is the same thing. So if we change the diffuse, it will change the overall color of our plastic. Specular, that's kind of the color of the shiny highlights on your plastic. So if we change this to a color like a lighter red, it kind of more closely mimics the highlights on plastic. Or if you want just really, really highlight white highlights, you can just keep it on white. So it's really nice. You can have the control of what color your material is and also what color your highlights are going to be. Roughness is the same. So right now it's a nice smooth surface. If you increase that, it'll give it more of a satin finish. And again, there's always a lot of different materials that you can use. There can be an advanced option. So I suggest when you start playing with this and get more comfortable to really look at this and play with some of these settings. Or also you can go to KeyShot.com under resources and learning tutorials and webinars. We have a lot of these topics covered for advanced tools in KeyShot. So if you're ready for the next step, go to KeyShot.com. You can find some more training there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and paint up our model using plastic. So let's make this black, just like that. And I'll pick on plastic rough. And I'll make this gray. And maybe I'll make the button part, I'll make that pink. So I'll go to gloss. See what's good. Maybe this under powerful, maybe this sapphire blue. And drag it over. Yeah, that looks weird. Oh wait, I'm gonna make this gray. Yeah, so I'm gonna go back to plastic. Hard, rough, hard, shiny, basic. I'll make this gray. Maybe make it black. Yeah, that's good. So I'll just make it all black to make it look good. And maybe I'll just make this hard, rough, black as well. There we go. That looks more mouse-like. So see how quickly just dragging and dropping your materials, you can really get some great colors. And this is all plastic. So, and each one you can edit. So let's double click on the blue plastic. And you can independently change these settings. So if I want a more satin finish on that guy, increase the roughness. If I want to make this one a different color, I can just change it here. And it's just really on the fly, quick solutions. Okay, so that's the basics of materials. Next tab I want to talk to you about on the project panel is environment, which is very, very cool. A lot of people don't go this far, but this can make and break your rendering really. Like sometimes it can take your rendering from a good rendering to a great one just by applying a different environment. So let's go ahead and click on our environment tab, and you can see what the environment is being applied right now. Right here, you'll see a thumbnail of our environment. And with that environment, let me show you exactly what's going on. Let me go ahead and zoom out of here all the way so you can see what's going on here. This is our environment. And what KeyShot does is instead of using placed lights like you would do like in another 3D app where you have to set up a shot and like have all the lights just perfectly arranged around your model, KeyShot does it automatically using what's called high definition range images, or HDRIs, or high dynamic range images, HDRIs, and it uses that to wrap a spherical image, and it projects that light data back onto your model. And it makes a nice, quick, fast, easy solution to get the accurate lighting results. So right now is the default startup. Let me go ahead and zoom back in. And we'll go through some of these settings. So the first thing you're going to see is, this is the location of the HDR file, which comes. We have KeyShot again comes preloaded with quite a few HDRs that you can use for your lighting, which you can find in your KeyShot library under Environments, which I'll go over in a little bit after I go over some of these settings. These settings under lighting, if you use Photoshop, it's very, very similar. So if you increase the contrast, it increases the fidelity between black and white, so the blacks become blacker, the whites become whiter. I generally like to leave these at default 1, and as well as brightness. I like to leave that as 1. Sometimes you want to increase it just because it just want a little more kick in the brightness. But a lot of times I just like leaving it 1, and then I can fix it in Photoshop if need be. The size, it's referring to the size of our actual environment. Like I said in the very beginning when we started, when we imported the model, it gave you the option to let KeyShot automatically choose the size of the environment. So it made it so it fits within the sphere well and is lit well. So that's what we have. You can also manually change the size here. So if we increase the size, it increases the size of our environment. What that is going to do to your rendering of your model and your lighting is it changes the angle of the light, the fall off, the reflections, all that. So these are more fine-tuned controls that you might want to play with once you figure out what environment you're using. And same with height. Height is going to move up and down the actual environment up and down in your scene. All right. So let's throw in a different environment. I always suggest this to people who are using KeyShot, and sometimes they just want a little thing. They just want something to make their rendering just a little bit more different, a little more dramatic. I always tell them the first thing you want to do is, well, just try a different environment other than the default startup one that's right here. This is every time you open up a new instance of KeyShot, this is the environment that will be used. So let's try some different ones in here. I like this one maybe. So I'm just going to, in my Environments tab, I'm just going to scroll down and you can see the entire collection. Or you can scroll down these arrows to see some more subcategories. I always like highlights because it gets some nice shadows in your model when you have reflective surfaces. So I'm going to go ahead and click 3 panel tile 2K. I'm going to click and drag that into our scene. You'll see a little box that says set environment. I'm going to let go of my mouse and it'll apply that environment to our studio, to our scene. And you can see how an environment has changed. You can see all the panel lights around your model. And this might be a little bit dark. I'm going to go ahead and drag in overhead array. This looks pretty cool. I'm going, and you can see here, right here, is the reflections of our lights, which are part of our HDRI. If you zoom out, you'll see the panel lights on top and the white ground, and that's being reflected in our model. This is all in real time. And if you have something like this, like the overhead array, and you want to change the angle of these shadows, A real quick way to do that, to play with it, is underneath height, you'll see this little dial that you can click and drag, and you can actually rotate your environment. So let me go ahead and zoom out so you can see exactly what's going on. So it's actually rotating our environment around the model. So the model is staying in place, but our environment is rotating around it. So that way you can have control over your shadows. All right, so let's say okay, I like this lighting environment. Let me just bump up the brightness a little bit. Maybe I'll change this to be a little more reflective. I'm going to turn the roughness down so you can see it. Yeah, there we go. Now it's really, looks a little juicy shininess to it. Yeah. But I like this, but I don't like actually seeing the lighting environment. Like, I want to have a different type of background. So under our project panel, go back to our environment tab. Under backgrounds, right now, lighting environment is checked, and there's a little bubble there. Let's go ahead and click on color instead. Little color sample is shown below it. You can see it's white, and now that we orbit the camera around, you'll see that our entire environment is white. You can't even see the sphere anymore. That's because it's completely placing the background in a white, on a white backdrop. You can also change this color as well. Anything you want. I want it on a red background, let's say. Now that's pretty cool. Maybe I'll just have it off blue one. Kind of mirror the mouse a little bit. Another option for your background is backplate image. So I'm going to go ahead and click on here. And it automatically asks you to search for a backplate when you click on there. The easiest place to find them is in your documents or in your KeyShot folder, or you can, another easy way to do this is instead of doing it that way is go into your backplate tab in your KeyShot library and open it up so you can see this better. So next to environment, where we showed our environment, to the right of that is backplate. So let's go ahead and click on the backplates tab on our library, and it will show you all the preloaded backplates that KeyShot comes with. You can also add more if you find some more backgrounds you want to add, the custom ones that you find or make yourself to add to your renderings on here. But it's nice that KeyShot supplies some for you, so you can just go ahead and just start making renders from the get-go. So let's see what we have here. So I click interior. You can actually, like, let's say we want this mouse to look like it's on the office desk. And you can have it look like it's on the office desk. Or let's say you want it to look like it's on the highway or outdoor. It's on outdoor now. So now you can place your model and make it look like it's zooming down the highway outdoor. These are kind of situational sometimes, but my favorite backplates are these called vignettes. And what a vignette is, let me show you. We go ahead and drag in the blue vignette in the basic. And what this does is gives a subtle gradient around the edge of the backplate, and really draws focus towards the center of your rendering. And that's like how, this is how fast it is to create some really great images with KeyShot. All right, so let me go ahead and maximize this again. All right, under background, you'll see the ground section. Ground shadows, generally, anytime you have your model is sitting on the ground, it's not floating in space, you'll always want to have this checked. Ground reflections, that's kind of situational. It's only if you want to have, like the button says, ground reflections. So I'll have that checked, and you can see a slight reflection on the ground of our model. That's kind of situational. on what you're rendering, what you want your rendering to turn out to be. I usually like to leave this turned off by default. Shadow color, they just actually changed the color of the shadow. This is really great. Default is black, but if you're changing the color of your back plate or your color in the background, a lot of the times you kind of want to have the shadow color kind of closely resemble that color, just so it fits in with the scene a little better. And let's not worry about flat and ground. Ground grid is more advanced. This is really important though. Ground size. A lot of times on your model, I don't know if you can see this really well here. I'll go back to color so you can see on the white maybe. I'll turn shadow color back to black. Okay, now you can see better. Sometimes when you bring in your model, and you'll see these little jaggy edges on your shadow. Later on in this webinar, I'll show you something called shadow detail, but don't touch that first. If you see this thing happening on the edge of the shadow, the first thing you want to touch is ground size. Right? And what you want to do is usually you want to bring this in. So as I'm bringing this in, you'll see that shadow shifting. And what it's doing is the smaller the ground is, the less time it's going to take for the image to calculate and res up. And it creates more accurate shadows to the model. So as you can see, the lower I'm bringing it, the tighter that shadow is. And what that actually is doing, you saw that in a second right there, I'm going to put it all the way down. When I bring it down all the way, you'll see the edges of the ground actually pull in. So this is the actual ground that we're manipulating. So you want it to be just enough where we don't see the edge of it, but not so big where it's going to make our shadows look weird. So that looks pretty good. So that's our environment tab. What you need to be concerned with for beginners is you make some really cool stuff without having to deal with a lot of finicky lights. Just throw in the environment and you're good to go. The next tab we're going to go over, next to the environment, is camera. So look, let me click on the camera and you'll see that how we can manipulate the camera. Like I said in the beginning, the camera is, you can orbit around with the left mouse button and see how that changes the values here. So if you have a specific angle and you just want to nudge it in a specific direction, you can either type in the value here, or you can just drag the slider and you can just control that one axis of your camera, which is really awesome. This is really great for just fine-tuning your angle for your shot, for your rendering. At the top here, you'll see it says free camera. You click on that, it'll show you the different cameras that you can actually save. So it's like, let's say this is a perfect angle you want to save and return back to. To do that, you just want to click on the little camera button next to the pull down of the name, and go ahead and click Add Camera. And this is the new camera. It's automatically named numerically whatever is next in the order, but you can also name this. Like, let's say, call this Hero Shot, and it automatically names that camera to what you need it to be. So now if we orbit around and change the camera angle, you'll see under the pull down, this is Hero Shot Unsaved. You can go ahead and click on that and select Hero Shot, and it'll jump back to your camera that you saved. If you want to make sure that no one touches this camera and nothing can be done to orbit around by accidentally pushing the mouse somewhere, to the left of our pull down is a little camera button with a lock on it. If you click on that lock, you'll see a little lock icon appear on our real-time window, and we can't drag anywhere anymore. So as long as this little icon is on here, our camera is locked in position. We're going to unlock that. And the button right underneath that has a little camera with a pencil. What that does is allows you to edit your saved cameras. So in the hero shots already selected, in the set, make sure the camera that you want to edit is selected. Click on that. A little dialog box will come up here. It says editing hero shot camera. Little done button. So if you just move it just a little bit and hit done, now our hero shot will go back to that new spot. All right. Let's see. Under camera, let's keep on going down. As you can see, there's more options below, so you'll see a little scroll bar down here. You can just click and drag there. You can just see more options. Under lens settings, if you guys, any of you guys familiar with using a camera, these settings are going to respect those type of settings for camera. So if you really know your way around a SLR camera and know how to set that, this is going to be a real good tool for you. For people who are not familiar with it, I suggest you play with it, but yeah, for this a little bit more advanced, unless you know about more camera tricks. Perspective and focal length just changes the angle of the camera, but usually 35 is good for just default, just basic rendering, just to start out. So let's go back to it. So only if you know your way around the camera would I suggest kind of playing with this, or if you're adventurous, you can play with this as well. But default should be good for now, for beginning. And then again, if you're familiar with the camera, these other options are going to be good for you, like depth of field and such. But if you're not familiar, these are more advanced. And as you get comfortable, you can return to this and play with these tools, or find their tutorials on KeyShot.com. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is settings. The next tab over. This is really great. This is kind of like under the hood of KeyShot. This is what's going to be going on while you're manipulating your materials and your cameras. These are what's going to be working under the kind of like what your final output might be like, what you see on your screen. So the first thing is going to be resolution, which you can actually type in values for your real-time view. So if I want it to be 600, so let's say 250, you can do that. So that creates that resolution there for a real-time window. This is really useful. Let's go to this is really useful if you have a specific size that you need to render to for, let's say, a website, and they give you the dimensions of the image that the assets needed. You can just jump into it and just make it the right size from the get-go and not have to worry about longer render times, or if the image is going to be in the right composition. You can actually see the real-time composition as you're working in KeyShot. So this is very useful. Next to that, you can always lock aspect, which locks the proportion of your window, or you can lock resolution, which locks the actual values of these numbers, so you can't change those values. So these are really, really useful tools. We'll go ahead and maximize my window again. See how it updates the values for our resolution in real time. Really, really cool. Underneath that is adjustments. You'll ask, wondering what's the difference between these adjustments versus the one in the environments. The environment is affecting the HDRI only, and how that's, so if you're changing the contrast and brightness here, it's actually just changing the image of this one here and how it's projecting onto your model. In settings, the adjustments is just kind of a post-process almost, like it takes whatever's being on your real time and adds more brightness or increases the gamma of it. So if we increase the brightness, notice that our model is not having to res up again. It's still pretty clean. That's because it's taking the existing data and brightening whatever is already out, the output is at the moment. And same with the gamma. Gamma I would probably leave at default. Most of these I would leave at default, and you can always tweak these in Photoshop. But if you want, you can just kind of nudge these a little bit, especially the gamma. The gamma I would just nudge very, very slightly if you're going to play with it. To sort of a lower number kind of increases the contrast, makes it a little darker. Higher number washes it out a little bit, makes everything a little brighter. But I usually leave it at 2, or if it needs to be a little bit lower, like 1.9. Brightness, I'll leave it at 1 usually, just in default. But if you need a little bump, this is where you go, just for after you're done with everything else. You're almost at the end. You just want a little more kick. I would play with the adjustments. Under that, you'll see the quality section. Default is on quality. Let me go ahead and show you what happens when you go to performance. So I'll go to performance right now. As you can see, there's a little key with a little aperture icon at the top. That pretty much turns off certain features of the rendering. As you can see, the shadow's gone now. Certain other elements are probably going to be missing. And what that does is allows you to work faster as you're applying your materials, making edits. This is more evident and more useful if you have a larger model with a lot more intricate details. And sometimes having it res up, you're more efficient if you turn off some of those shaders. So if you want to work faster and you know exactly what materials certain need to be, you can always turn that on here, or by the hotkey Command P. Or sorry, not that one. Control. I'm on the Mac right now. Yeah, Option P. So Option P toggles your performance mode, which is really cool. So I'm going to leave that off for now so you can see our real-time rendering. Under Advanced, we'll see ray bounces and shadow quality. Like I said, don't mess with this usually. Only mess with these if you know what you're doing, and if you see some, if you need more ray bounces to see the light pass through some transparent materials. But most of the time, the default values are pretty good. I would only increase this if you're using transparent materials to see light bouncing. But increasing ray bounces is not necessarily increasing the quality of the image. So a lot of times, people who are beginning want to max this out, but don't do that. That's only going to increase your render time and not really increase your image quality. So leave that at default, and same with the shadow quality. If you need to adjust the shadow quality on the ground, like I said, go to your environment and adjust the ground size. Here's what you need to check here, though. Underneath the shadow quality, you'll see self-shadows, which you most likely always want to have checked. Under that is global illumination. This is great. This is going to apply the light in your scene as it was in a real time, like a real world setting, where the light bounces off everything within the scene. I generally like to leave this on. Usually with a model this small, it's not going to add that much render time when you do your final rendering, and it just creates more realistic results when you have global illumination on. Let's not worry about ground illumination and focus context right now. Those are more advanced. Like I said, you can go to KeyShot.com to learn more about these. But let's keep moving forward. Effects, these are, again, more advanced options you can learn about as you get comfortable with KeyShot. So after we have these settings set, and our model looks pretty good, let me go back and maybe change back to that backplate I liked. So I'm going to go ahead and drag in our blue backplate again. And then now let's say I'm ready to render now. I want to render this. I think this looks good. On the bottom right here, on the toolbar, you'll see this little button called Screenshot. What Screenshot does is going to take pretty much a screenshot, like you would say, like a screenshot on your computer. It'll actually save out whatever is in your real-time view at that moment to your renderings folder in your KeyShot resources folder. So if I hit render, hit screenshot, you'll see a little thing right here. It tells you exactly where it saved it to, the name and location. So that might be good for certain people. Just like, oh, okay, I have the the setting I need it to be, the resolution's what I need to be. This is all I need. So I'm just gonna hit screenshot. But if you want more control with your rendering, to the right of screenshot, you'll see a little teapot. Under it says rendering. So let's go ahead and click the render button. Under the render panel, you'll see you can name a specific name for your rendering. So I'll just call it test mouse. You can select the actual location of your rendering, so you don't have to save it within the KeyShot resources folder, which is in the KeyShot. Here it's in the KeyShot application support in the library. And your PC is usually in your documents folder, or your resources folder. But if you click the select folder icon, so a little guy right here, you can choose anywhere. Like let's say I just want to go on my desktop so I can find it easier. So I just click on my desktop, choose, and there we go. It's going to save it right to my desktop. Format, you can do JPEG, TIFF, XDR, TIFF 32-bit, and PNG. And also if you choose TIFF, you can include alpha, which is the transparency. And also for PNG, you can choose and include transparency. I'll leave that JPEG for now. Under that, you'll see resolution, which will render at this size independent of whatever you have under setting. So even if you have the settings set for the real time at a different value, you can actually just type in a certain, like let's say you need a 600 width. So it'll automatically fill it in for you. And you can also have presets of different types of sizes that we have in KeyShot. It's really, really useful. Underneath that, it'll show you the print size if you're going to print this image of how big it would be, and also the DPI. So once you have all that ready to go, I'm going to hit the render button. You can see what happens. It opens up a little preview window here. And notice while this is going, I can't activate anything else in my KeyShot directory or application. I have to wait for this to finish. So once it's finished, you can tell because it's a little bar. It's filled in, and it says close instead of stop. Let me go do that again so I show you. So I'm going to go ahead and hit render. On the window, you can see that little bar filling up as it goes faster. So the tiles will fill in as it's rendering the image. If I don't like where it's going, I can hit stop immediately, and it'll stop the rendering. It's going to ask you stop rendering now. You can say continue, stop, or save and stop. I just want to stop it because I'm like, I don't like it. I want to make some changes. So KeyShot always gives the option to stop mid-render if you want to make some changes. So I'm going to hit stop. And that'll bring you back so you can make some changes with your settings in your scene. But I liked it, and so I'm going to go ahead and render that out. Another option you have is to render the background. So if you hit that, it actually just start rendering in the background, and you could go make changes here, which is useful. But I like usually to see what's going on. So once it's finished, I'll come back on top. You hit close, and you can find it. Let's go back to let's see on the desktop here, and there's our rendering. So there we go. Up KeyShot again. So yeah, default background. Background lets you keep working in KeyShot if you need to. Default makes it so it's the top level action going on. So those are your options for rendering. As you get more advanced, you can look at some of these other settings like quality, and also if you want to do some more animation or VR, those are options that are available to you as well as you become more advanced in the application. Actually, let me show you quality real quick. In quality, we have advanced controls. A really cool tool in the rendering dialog is maximum time. I know a lot of times when you have that project and you need the rendering in like 20 minutes, you or die, you know? KeyShot has this great feature where you can actually set the amount of render time you have available to you. And it'll create, based on that value you put for time, let's say you say 20 minutes, it'll give you the best rendering you can have in 20 minutes. So if you have a specific timeline and you know that this render usually takes forever under your normal advanced control, if you go to maximum time, you can actually cut that down if you like. Another kind of simple way of controlling your quality level you're rendering is clicking maximum sample. Right now it's at the 32. You can increase or decrease that to increase the quality of your rendering. I'd be very wary of matching it up like this. Don't do this usually. I would say incrementally increase until it reaches a level where you're happy with it. Because there's a point where it's not really going to add much more quality to your rendering based on your geometry and your lighting. So I would keep it close to default. Usually it's 32. Most times that's pretty sufficient for what you need. So yeah, that's your render dialog. And let's see what else do I have. I think that's the end of this the materials for this intro to KeyShot webinar.
All right.
Time at 12.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I was counting down too. Okay, Shaun, so I have some questions. Let me get them ready. We have quite a bit of questions as well. So I'll ask him. I'll submit them to you now as I asked him on the air. So let's start with the first one. Is the Mac and PC interface for KeyShot identical?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, there's like the different idiosyncrasies of Mac versus PC, like the little circle versus the PCs as on this side. But we've tried really hard to keep the UI as similar as possible, so there's no confusion when working from one version to the next. So yeah, it's pretty close. I usually use PC, and honestly, this is like maybe the second time I've used it on the Mac, and I went through it fine. So.
Okay, let's see. I have this from Ravi. Ravi wants to know how and why to use clown passes and other passes.
Okay. Clown passes is a way, it's a really more advanced feature. We have actually a advanced tutorial on it, I believe, or we should have it in the near future. But it's more for compositing in Photoshop. So if you are, let's say, let's look at my mouse again. I'm going to close this panel. But let's say you want to in Photoshop, you want to just highlight the button area. You want to control that with increasing the levels or changing the color on that in Photoshop. What Clown Pass does is allow you pretty much to give you a selection, like a color selection, to kind of block out this space. It allows you to create a mask to block out that the part of the rendering. So it's basically lets you mask things easier in Photoshop. So it's a little more advanced. But if you know your way around Photoshop pretty well, and there's specific areas you want to work on in your rendering in Photoshop, it's a masking tool basically.
I have a question from James. James wants to know, is the up orientation and setting specific to the modeling application that is being imported? I think he wants to elaborate. Here's the second part. If I import from SKP, I need to use orientation on Z. If I use Y option, it's on its side.
Yeah, so change it to whatever the up orientation is for your 3D application. It kind of changes from one application to the next. So that's why KeyShot allows that pull down make sure you again want to import something. So the up orientation, you can toggle this to whatever direction your 3D application uses that you're importing from. A lot of times people will just use one, like the normal person would probably be like, okay, I use SolidWorks all the time, so it only has one, I don't have to worry about this once. But if you use multiple 3D applications, you can change this on the fly if it's not coming in at the right direction. So that's a good question. So yeah,
it's a little bit more
anytime you want.
Okay, cool. This one's a little bit more relaxed. It's from Ding. He wants to know where you got the mouse model that we've been using today.
Oh, it's actually a nice model that we got from our partners at TurboSquid.com. Yeah. Yeah, so TurboSquid.com has a great selection of models that you can buy if you have the budget for it. Another great resource that we use quite often in our promotion materials in our tutorials is grabcad.com, G-R-A-B, like you're grabbing a cup on table, so grabcad.com. It has a lot of free models that you can use to practice with your rendering techniques. And we actually have quite a bit of, sometimes we'll have some rendering competitions that we'll have on GrabCAD. That's really cool. So this has a really great community for sharing models and rendering on grabcad.com.
Okay, Oris wants to know, can you render directly out of ZBrush? If so, what's the ZBrush setup, and do you need UVs, decimated? Any ZBrush information would be very helpful.
I'm not super familiar with ZBrush. I know we just released a plugin for ZBrush that we're going to be releasing quite soon, if it's not up already. So like I said, check on KeyShot.com and go to under Resources, under Plugins, and you should be able to find a plugin for ZBrush that will be able to export your data into KeyShot immediately. Yeah. So
this
usually
probably
we try to do all the major 3D apps we try to have a plugin for.
This goes into another question. I had one from Ronaldo about Vectorworks. Do you guys have a plugin for that as well to import models from Vectorworks?
Offhand, I don't know. Let me go see. So under Resources, Plugin, see what we got. Oh, we're already there. So we have that video. It's called no, right now it looks like. We're always adding more on the regular. If you sign up for a newsletter, and we'll let you know as soon as we get that in. I'm not really familiar with that 3D application. Does you know what file type it is? If you can export into like an OBJ or a IGS file, those are kind of universal 3D file types that KeyShot can recognize. So if you don't see like I say, if you import and you don't see your file type listed here, most likely than not, whatever you're working on can export into a format that can be recognized. Like I said, OBJ is great, IGS is great, FBX is great. Most 3D apps can export into those formats. So I would suggest that if it doesn't see it here.
That is so awesome, because I actually did I Googled it as well, and the answer was very same answer from Thomas, the global moderator at KeyShot.com's forums too as well. So definitely check that out. Let's see. Moving on. I have another one. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. So yeah. By the way, there was a lot of questions, so if it's not answered live, Shaun and the Luxion team will format the questions and send them out to them, and we'll have it as a blog post at blog.novedge.com as well. Okay, let's move on here. Okay, can KeyShot be used on dual monitors? Example, pulling tabs apart like in PS, Photoshop, I assume.
Yes, you can use. I do that. Actually, that's my setup normally. I usually have these panels I usually have these undocked. And I have these on my palette monitor. I usually have it set up on my palette monitor. So I have my full screen to work on my real-time window. That's what my usual workflow is like. But for this webinar, I only want to keep it to one screen to show you guys that this can work on a one-screen setup as well. And also it's easier for me to show you guys everything on this one screen. So yes, you can work 2 screens. That's my favorite way of working. If you have an extra screen, do it.
Okay, so back to ZBrush. Brian wants to know if what's the maximum polygons that he can bring in from ZBrush into KeyShot.
I know I've never ran into a polygon error in KeyShot, so I'm pretty sure it's pretty high. I mean, it can handle really large data sets, and I mean we've brought in really highly detailed models. If you look through our gallery, I know there's specific values that you can see on the staff on the website about the polygon count, I think, but I mean that's one of our features that we try to tell people that KeyShot is there's the upper limit of what you can bring in is like almost not even worth mentioning, because it's if you can make it, we can bring it in. Basically, we like to tell people.
Question from James. He wants to know what the best advice to export out a high-resolution image in terms of size and resolution.
So as far as rendering goes, is he talking about, like in the render dialog? Did you talk about the render dialog? For the resolution, it really depends on your project. For print projects, I would say minimum is 150. Industry standard for print is 300 DPI. But usually that's overkill, especially if you're using like a home monitor or like a less, if you're not using like offset prints or anything like that. 150 should be sufficient, but usually industry standard for print is 300. If it's just for web, or seeing on the screen, like a computer screen, your DPI is usually good at 72. 72 is standard for screen resolution. So that's usually good rules of thumb to think about. So it's 72 for screen, 300 for print.
Cool. Sounds like you did a really good job of answering that question, Shaun. Thanks, James. Cool. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, we do have a lot of questions. Okay, so can you have multiple backplate images that are in layers, like in Nuke?
No, you can only have one of the backplate at a time. Yeah, so once you drag it in, there's no layer aspect to the backplate. That's a really interesting idea, though. I'm going to write this down. It's a great idea. I'll bring it up to our development team, and we'll see
exactly.
what we do.
Yeah, so if this is a feature that you guys want to check out, definitely make some noise with the Luxion KeyShot team.
Yeah, we listen. So if it's something that a lot of people are clamoring for, we actually do listen to you guys.
Cool. Okay. Can we import 3D objects? Okay, that's already answered. Sorry about that. Okay. Can we create a true alpha with KeyShot? Meaning, if I just wanted to show the wheel of this mouse in the final image and the rest of the mouse to be alphaed out as a transparent background, is that possible?
Yeah. That's kind of a more advanced thing. Let me show you, if you don't mind, I can just show you real quick. So that if you can select your mouse. And go ahead and maximize this one just to see. So it's like the wheel of the mouse. And under render layer, you'll see it's you want to add render layer here. Render layers lets you separate out the elements of your model. So I'm going to add a new render layer. I'll say call it wheel. And then when you're doing your rendering, open my render panel. Under passes, I'm going to enable render layers. It's kind of similar to Clown Pass, where it kind of cuts it out of your rendering and makes another image. So I'm going to go ahead back to output, desktop. Yes. So I'm going to go ahead and render that. Should be pretty fast. Close that. Go back to my desktop, and I'll show you, where is it? So it rendered out, let's see, the latest. So this is it gives you one rendering of the entire image, and then it'll give, if you have the render layers on, here it is, it's just the alphaed out wheel. So if you want to do some compositing, some fine-tuning in Photoshop and just, just having just a little bit of it rendered, that's how you do it. You use render layers. I love using render layers. It's like my favorite thing. But again, it was a more advanced tool, so I didn't want to get into it right away, but it was fast enough for me to explain right now. So, yeah, if you want to use it, that's how you do it.
Okay, here's a question about, it's also about rendering, but it's about network rendering. Can you do this with KeyShot, and if so, how many slaves are available per license?
Network rendering is another actual product that you have to purchase separate from KeyShot. As far as amount of slaves, I think that I'm not as well versed with network rendering. The information should be on the website. Let's see. So if you go to network render under buy on the KeyShot.com. So yeah, there's some more information about the different features of it there. Right now we have, at our own office, we have 5 nodes running, or 5 slaves running, with over 160 cores. And that's just, we're not until we can add more. So, and the limits of the network rendering are pretty high. It's just, yeah, it's the most amazing thing. It's my favorite thing. Working here at KeyShot is the network rendering. If you can afford the network rendering, yeah, great. Yeah. I love it.
Cool. All right. Andres wants to know, okay, so previously when you were talking about the teapot renderer and then some of the screenshot options and render options were grayed out, is that an issue, or is there like a certain feature that's not on?
Oh, so we hit the render. What's grayed out? What are we looking at?
To network? Sure. That's grayed out, or?
Oh, the network is only available if you have network rendering, which is a separate application. And that's only available if you have like a bank of computers you can use to process the rendering faster. So it's really useful if you have like a couple computers to dedicate to add to the rendering power for your renders. But if you don't have the extra products from us, it's not going to be available to you until you buy network rendering from KeyShot. What else was grayed out? The alpha was grayed out because it's only available for TIFF and ping. If you have JPEGs do not have alpha channels inherently. Only TIFF and pings have alpha channels. What else was grayed out? No, I thought it's. Is there anything specific? Oh wait, that is Q. Yeah, it's grayed out because it's sent to network. Probably was grayed out. Anything with network was probably grayed out. But yeah. Oh yeah, okay. Sent to network is grayed out. Yeah.
But just in case, Andres, if you have a question about that, if you want to go into more detail, I think Shaun is open to receiving emails, and the KeyShot team is open to receiving emails too.
I can send you over to our sales team too to give you some really good information about network rendering. If you're really curious about network rendering, we can answer your question about that topic specifically.
Okay, so I have 2 more questions. This one's from Michael. I noticed on the KeyShot website, KeyShot comes with 2.1 megapixel real-time resolution and 4.1 megapixel offline rendering solution, whereas KeyShot Pro has a bunch of features. Could you elaborate on the limitations of KeyShot versus KeyShot Pro with regards to what you went over in your tutorial?
Good question.
This one, I might have to actually submit this to you.
Yeah, actually that might be better because I use Pro on the regular, so I might be blind to what's on the regular version versus Pro. I can give you a better assessment probably offline on an email that they would find the best.
Okay, and one last one from Jay. He wants to make sure this gets answered, and it's super important. Do you plan to add a vertical rotation to the environment? If not, you're handicapping us.
If you go into environments, this is more an advanced thing. I didn't want to open it because it's just a whole other bag. Opening another can of worms is if you hover over your thumbnail, you can actually click it, and it opens up your HDR editor. So this is pretty awesome. I have a tutorial on this specifically, because it can get kind of tricky. But underneath tilt, you'll see rotation. You can actually, or underneath, or above rotation, you'll see tilt, and that will actually rotate your HDR physically. Yeah, I'll show you. Hold on. Yeah, this is much easier with two screens. I'm spoiled with two screens. But let me go ahead and zoom out here.
Cool.
Oh yeah, go back to lighting environment and see our environment and see how the tilt rotates it that way. All the way around, upside down, and then we'll come back up. So yes, you do have that. It's just within the HDR editor, which is a little more advanced. This is one of my favorite tools, the HDR editor, to really fine-tune your lighting. It really helps a lot. And you can add more lights too by adding pins. And that's a whole other thing, which is awesome, awesome, awesome stuff. Like I said, there's going to be, if you go to KeyShot.com, under tutorials, we go over this panel exclusively. So yeah, just love it. I love this.
Awesome. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. Tons of questions. I will format them and send them to Shaun and the KeyShot team, and then we'll have them on our blog. But I also want to encourage you guys to, if you guys have any questions, definitely head out and check out KeyShot.com, check out the forums. Shaun's probably there, and you can even shoot him an email too as well. Yeah, cool. Shaun?
Yeah, my email is Shaun, S-H-A-U-N, at Luxion.com. So yeah, I'm always here. I live here, basically. And I love playing with this. So just shoot me an email if one of us will help you out as soon as we can. So,
cool.
Yeah. And also join our forums too if you want to have questions with some of our top users. If you go to KeyShot.com under community, if you go to forum, this is a great resource for all things KeyShot. This is a lot of the pros come here and they'll give you critiques, tips, all kinds of stuff. And people like all these amazing shots you can look at. I mean, this is great. It's all KeyShot. And, if you have questions, the people are all super friendly, and they'll help you with anything you need as well, or get some inspiration for your own rendering. Great. Love it. Okay.
Cool. All right, I'm going to switch it back to me. Shaun, that was awesome. Let's do this. Cool.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
All right, let me know if you guys can see my screen here. I have the slides up. But yeah, I mean, thank you guys for joining us today. This is a very cool presentation, very in-depth. We went over a little bit, but that's value for you guys, and really guys appreciate you guys for checking us out. Thank you on behalf of the Novedge team. But yeah, if you guys are interested in picking up a copy of KeyShot Pro 4.1, we do have it on our website. As one of the largest online design software stores, we offer a huge assortment of software solutions that cater to virtually every designer need. So if you are interested in picking up a digital version, it is available worldwide from us at Novedge.com. And if you guys have any questions about the product, you can also talk to our sales specialist, Bob at Novedge.com. Cool. All right. So if you want to get a glimpse of who's changing the world, and also if you guys want to check out the questions from today's webinar presentation, we'll format that and get that ready, and then we'll put it up as a blog post at blog.novedge.com. And because you can use KeyShot with Rhino, I want to plug our online community at rhinojungle.com. We have some experts there as well. And also if you have any Rhino questions, it'd be a very good place to submit and start a discussion and get answers too as well. So check it out. In our next upcoming webinar, we have with us Fabrice DeBarge. He will be talking about TV Paint Animation 10 Pro. It is a high-performance pixel-based drawing program, so if you guys want to learn more about this, do check it out. The webinar is free and will last about an hour, and includes a Q&A session, so definitely check it out, Novedge.com, webinar 80. And if you guys have any questions, comments, and feedback about today's webinar, definitely email me at kevin@novedge.com as well. I'd love to hear from you guys. By the way, today's webinar is recorded live, so if you guys want to check it out, by today's end, I'll have it up on vimeo.com/Novedge and also youtube.com/Novedge as well. So be there or be square. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for joining us today. On behalf of the Novedge team, thank you. Shaun, also Josh is listed as a panelist as well. I want to thank you guys for joining us. Yeah, Shaun, do you have any last words before we sign off on this? Or?
I just hope you guys are in love with KeyShot now as much as I am, and I hope you guys explore and learn and surprise us with your next rendering.
Very cool. All right, signing off, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ciao.